Good evening, everyone. My name is Troy, and welcome to the premiere of Son of a Preacher Man. This is my YouTube debut, and really not sure what I'm doing, but I do know what I'm talking about. So I would ask that you have mercy on me and be patient with me as I attempt to struggle my way through this video, this homemade video. So, again, my name is Troy, and my channel is called Son of a Preacher Man, all about the Bible, and that's basically what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be discussing the Bible. But before I get started with all that, I think it's an appropriate time to ask you to hit that like and subscribe button. And I want to tell you that you will not be disappointed. I think that you're going to learn a lot and be interested in what I have to say. I'm almost certain that I'm going to piss some people off. I'm going to discuss some very controversial things. Might make some people happy, you never know. But I assure you that what I have to say is controversial, but I also assure you that I will back it up with some very compelling evidence. So a couple things, I just wanted, before we get started, I just want to tell you, first of all, that this is an introductory video. This is just an opportunity for me to introduce myself and establish some credibility. So if you absolutely do not want to see this video or can't bear the sound of my voice or the sight of my face and just want to go to the next video, which I start off with Genesis 1:1. I understand. I watch YouTube sometimes, and a lot of people lose me by talking too much. So I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to try not to talk too much. I'm going to try not to talk about myself too much. But this is an opportunity for me to tell you a little bit about myself and establish some credibility and get this out of the way with, because I won't be talking about myself much or going off on a tangent. I'll be trying not to. I got my little notebook here to help keep me on point. So if I'm looking down, that's why. Also, I know it's a number of people of different backgrounds that may be watching this, and so I'll take that into consideration. I debate people of all faiths, colors, creeds, genders, backgrounds, just with all types of beliefs. And so I know the different crowds that may be watching this, and I understand how they may be shaking their fist and screaming at their TV or phone at some of what I'm saying. And so I'm going to try to take that into consideration. So what I'm saying is, if I'm talking too slow, I'm not stupid, okay? If I seem like I am, I'm not. I'm just trying to be accurate. Like, I can't emphasize enough that the Bible is a super duper controversial subject. And so I'm trying to keep that in mind as talking to this camera. So, establishing credibility. That's going to be my big thing in the beginning. And the way that I establish credibility is by building a rapport with you. I tell you some things. You see if they right. You say to yourself, okay, I can dig that. I may not agree with it, but it sounds plausible, Then I tell you some more things as, time goes on. And then you believe me a little bit more. You say, okay, Troy, that makes sense. I can believe that, And then build up more credibility. And it gets to the point where you like, holy shit, I think he may be right. So that's what I intend to do. The Bible is a very controversial subject. And I want to establish some credibility. And once I establish some credibility, you'll be more likely to believe what I say more and more. I hope that made sense. So, let me just tell you first and foremost right off the bat, like, I know I do not look like the type of person that would be talking to you about this subject. But I urge you not to judge a book by its cover. The Bible says God works in mysterious ways, and maybe this is one of them. Another thing is, I do not do this. I am extremely nervous. I know people that I know are making fun of me right now, and that's fine. I keep saying a lot. That's how you know I'm nervous. I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying to look cool. It's not really working. But I'm just giving it to you straight, and I'm going to give it to you straight every video. I don't really do stuff like this. I really battled and struggled with whether I was going to do this or not. And just at the last moment, I decided to do it. And I'll discuss that a little bit more in a second. Also, you know, I'm not really sure how this works, but I'm willing to take calls. I'm willing to take advice. Insults are welcome. You can hold the threats, please. Nobody likes those. I've already got a growing list of guests who want to appear on my videos, and in the future we'll be trying to make that happen, because you have no reason to believe me right now. That's again why I have to establish some credibility. You don't know me. You have no reason to believe me. And I always urge people to fact check anything they hear. And I also urge you to fact check what you hear from me also. And the way I'll be speaking, I'll set it up in a way where it's easy for you to fact check what I'm saying. I want you to, because that helps me establish credibility. You fact check what I say and you see that I'm right, then you're going to be more inclined to believe me in the future. Another thing is, I really don't want to look like a bozo, but you know, I am black, so I talk with a little, you know, accent, if you will. I'll try to articulate my words so that you can understand me. I have a lighting problem at first. You know, that's why this video wasn't up sooner. You know, would you believe that they don't make these phones with, you know, the diversity of the nation in mind? You know, I'm a dark brother. You know, I wasn't even showing up on camera at first, but, you know, anyways. Another thing, this is just raw footage. As you see, I came to you as I am. I made sure that I wasn't looking completely trifling, but as you see, I got on my Cheech and Chong t-shirt. I'm not dressed up in a suit and tie. You know, I'm not a preacher. My father is, and I'll talk about that in a second too. Not a biblical scholar. I'm not an archaeologist or a scientist. I'm just your average Joe. But I felt that that was extremely important, that I come to you as just an average individual, because I want to show and prove to you that you do not have to be anybody special, and that it doesn't take a scholar or an Egyptologist or a scientist to understand this book, which is one of the most complicated things to understand, like, on earth. If you remember, I'm pretty sure you've heard of the story of David and Goliath. It's one of my favorite stories, and I can't wait to get to that section of the Bible and talk about it. But in the story of David and Goliath, David was just an average Joe. He was just a shepherd. Not really, but on the surface, he was just, you know, he was a nobody, you know. On the inside, you know, God had blessed him and favored him. So, you know, if you look closer, he had some really unique and peculiar qualities about him. And I'm gonna dig into that. I love that story. I can't like emphasize enough how much I love that story, but I don't want to go off on a tangent because I said I wouldn't do that. So one last thing in this first little section of this video that I want to talk about is that I believe that you will learn something from me. I believe that you will believe me. I believe at the end of these videos, I will have made a compelling argument that will almost seem irrefutable. I've had a unique upbringing, and that allows me to have a unique insight into things. For example, I am the son of a preacher, but I'm not a very religious person. And so I've never looked at religion and the Bible with that biased religious view. You know, I used to sit in church and think to myself, it's a good thing. It's a good chance that every last one of these people might be out of their mind, crazy as hell, including my parents. Of course, I didn't say that when you were a little kid. You know, you're not allowed to say stuff like that, but you know, you allowed to have your own thoughts. And I'm telling you, in my mind, I thought to myself, these people crazy. It's a good chance these people crazy as hell. You know, let's get into this for a minute. Let's just jump off into it. I'm a little kid. I'm growing up in church all the damn time. You know, it's not the life I wanted for myself. You know, when you a young black male growing up, it's not cool for your pops to be a preacher. When you trying to talk to girls, that's not cool that your pops is a preacher. I was ashamed that my father was a preacher growing up. It was humiliating. I wanted to be tough. I wanted people to think that I was tough. And people do not think you tough when your pops is a preacher. It is a certain stigma that comes along with being a preacher's kid. And I hated that. You know, everybody always immediately thought that I was super religious or knew something about the Bible. I'm like, man, you better get out of my face. But with that goody two-shoe church stuff, you know, that's my father's thing. You know that was my attitude. So when I used to sit up in church, I used to think to myself, man, these people might be crazy as hell. Even as a kid, I'm talking about like 6, 7 years old. I'm like, man, these people, has anybody ever, you know, I'm thinking to myself as a young 6, 7-year-old. And I'm saying to myself, sitting in church, listening to the preacher, and I'm saying to myself, has anybody vetted this dude? Like, how do we know he know what he's talking about? He's making some extraordinary claims. And so, I'm not a religious person. You know what I mean? But I was forced into that lifestyle. I grew up reading the Bible. My father made me read the Bible. So I also grew up, you know, reading comic books. You know, I was fascinated by space. I used to watch The Little Prince all the time. It was this cartoon where the boy, he used like a fish net, and he caught like one comet, and he traveled from planet to planet using the fish net to catch comets to propel himself from planet. Man, I love that shit. I was just crazy about space. I was real deep off into it. I wanted to be an astronaut when I grew up. But it didn't work out that way though. But because of, you know, the unique way I grew up, when I finally understood Genesis, it was because it was all about space. And I knew something about space even from when I was a little kid. So I was really like back and forth. It was like a tug of war trying to decide if I would do these videos. What eventually pushed me over the edge was I made a very profound discovery. And we're not going to talk about it too much here. I've made many discoveries researching the Bible over the years. And, you know, I just kept them to myself for whatever reason. You know, people didn't care. They didn't believe me. They didn't want to hear it. You know, my relationship with my father is a big motivating reason why I'm doing these videos. He definitely don't want to hear a damn thing that come out my mouth, especially about the Bible. But, you know, no hard feelings. So I'll get into it a little bit more while I'm doing this. Matter of fact, let's it's 3 questions you should really be asking yourself right now. And before we get to those 3 questions, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, we got to one take this. I'm sorry. First time, I made a mistake. Keep in mind, to the viewers, to the people in YouTube land that's watching this, keep in mind that I debate people of many faiths, beliefs, and backgrounds. I debate atheists who, you know, atheist is a person, they don't believe in God. I debate super ultra religious church folks. Let me tell you, I love debating super ultra religious church folks. I love debating them. And the reason I love debating them is because they are so rooted in what they believe that they don't want to hear anything other than what the Bible says. And so it forces me to have to study and research and use the Bible so that when I debate them, I can use that as a reference. I also like debating atheists. I debate agnostics. That's people who, they don't know what the hell is going on and really don't care. You know, I like debating people who don't know anything or don't believe anything. And so I'm keeping that in mind as I'm doing this video. And so if I'm doing something or talking slow or on a subject that's too long for you, you know, keep in mind that I know it's those type of people out there, and I'm debating them even right now in this video. I can hear them saying stuff and thinking stuff, and I'm gonna address it as they say it and think it, because I'm not gonna leave any wiggle room. My intention is to present hardcore, reasonable, common sense facts. And you will believe me by the end of this. So, 3 questions you should be asking yourself right now is, who am I? That's 1. What am I doing? That's 2. And why am I doing this? So, I'll answer those questions in that order. Who am I? Well, like I said, my name is Troy. I am the son of Pastor Thaddeus A.G. My father has been a pastor for eternity, okay? Let me get up close on the camera real quick, because I cannot emphasize this enough. I am the son of a pastor who loves his job. Okay? This man loves to preach. He loves it. He loves it. Okay? Just let that sink in for a minute. And I have endured this my entire life. He will preach to a brick wall. He does not care. He does not care. The days that we went to church every Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, and probably some other days too. Sometimes we would be the only people there. Me, my brother, and my mom. And he would still preach like it was a full room. And he would get mad at us because we weren't singing and clapping. So you let that sink in for a minute, what I've had to endure my entire existence. This man loves his job, and you cannot tell him shit. So, I spent the majority of my young life all up in church, you know? And even from a young age, like I said, you know, I wasn't a very religious person. I'm sure my father had all types of plans on me and my brother following in his footsteps. I have to be careful not to say the wrong thing because, you know, I love my pops. And, you know, I don't want to, you know, just be disrespectful. Man, ain't no way that I was going to be no preacher. Just ain't no way. It just wasn't in me. I had no interest whatsoever. I wanted to be bad. I wanted people to respect me because they knew that I would kick that ass. That's what I wanted. And, you know, my pops was just a monkey wrench in my whole plans. So, you know, from a very young age, I was forced to read the Bible. And, you know, I did. He made sure that he was always on my back, always preaching. Man, God, oh, my God. Just thinking about it now, it's just about to drive myself crazy, give myself an aneurysm right here on camera. Just always on my back, preaching and talking about what the Bible say. And, you know, he had these, like, these bread and butter go-to things. And, you know, for me, being a little kid, I was scared to disagree with him because, you know, I didn't really know nothing about God. And I would say to myself, man, you know, man, I would want to be like, man, take your ass on, man, shut your ass up. But, you know, but I would be scared to even say that because I'm like, man, am I going to get struck by a bolt of lightning or something? So I didn't really know much about God. But then I made a decision, even at a really young age. I had to be maybe like 8 or 9. And I said to myself, you know what? I ain't no dummy. And I know how to read. So I'm going to read this book. I said, you know, I'm going to beat him at his own game. And I started reading that book. And, man, to tell you the truth, it was kind of good. Like the stories in it and everything, you know. And once again, I'm not a very religious person. But I did like to read when I was a little young kid. I like to read all kind of books, mostly comic books, but all kind of books. And the book was good. I immediately became fascinated with the story of David and Goliath and other little stories in there, like Jonah and the whale. It really made some, like, it really was a good read, okay? So I started learning other stuff, too. You know, me and my father's relationship wasn't great growing up. Yeah, it probably ain't the greatest relationship now. And my older brother's relationship with him was just downright toxic. So we was in a big argument. I had to be maybe like 11, 12. I had been reading the Bible on my own for a couple years in secret, okay? In secret. And, you know, me and my father was arguing. He went to his bread and butter. He's like, the Bible say, honor thy mother and thy father. And so I was like, oh, yeah? Well, it also say don't provoke your kids. And you know what happened? Nothing. Nothing happened. It was a miracle. I had witnessed a miracle. I had shut my father up. He literally looked at me like I was crazy. He didn't hit me or nothing. He backed up, turned around, like as he kind of like shook his head, and walked out the room. Silent. Nothing. I'm telling that story exactly how it happened. I couldn't believe it. I immediately looked over at my Bible that was out at that particular time, and I said, holy shit. I said, that is one powerful book. Anything that could shut my old man up completely, shut him up and turned his ass around. I knew then I was dealing with something that was potent, okay? Something that was real. Something that was puissant. Did I use that word right? Puissant. It means powerful. Anyways, that was my first inkling, my first inclination of what I was dealing with. And from that day to this day, that fact has been re-emphasized and re-established over and over and over and over again. So, that has a lot to do with what I'm doing. My father, the influence of my father has a lot to do with what I'm doing. You know, I argue with my father about the Bible so much to the point where we can't even talk about it without getting into an argument. We have such different views on the Bible. He takes the old, stiff, rigid, traditional approach. And me, you know, we live in the days of the internet now. You know, we have resources at our disposal right now that his generation couldn't even dream of. And when I try to show him different things about the Bible, when I try to explain different things about the Bible, like, you know, I try to, explain to him the science of things, he just says things like, science is from the pits of hell. And I'm just like, it gotta be a better way to do this. Let me ask you something. This is what I don't understand. If you truly love the Bible and preaching, and you love the Lord, okay, you really feel that way, wouldn't you want to know the truth about it? I mean, honestly, wouldn't you want to know the truth about that thing that you invest so much time and money and effort and energy into? People go to church. I come from that world. I come from that church world, okay? Where you go to church night and day. My family used to spend the night at church. That means going to church all day, having service, having evening service, eating there, spending the night, and then going to church in the morning and the next evening. Dog. That's why preachers' kids is wild as hell. Because we be caged up all our entire life. That when we finally get loose, no, we don't know how to act. Anyways, my father, having a preacher as a father, is motivation enough to do anything. It'll drive you crazy. Who knows what direction it would drive you. Have you ever heard of Marilyn Manson? That crazy, gothic, weird-ass looking rocker, devil-worshipping ass Marilyn Manson with all the makeup on his face and shit? He comes from strict religious parents. That's what it'll do to you. That is what it will do to you. I may be slightly insane, maybe just a little bit because of my father, but I also learned a whole lot because of my father. My father is a religious zealot. That's Z-E-A-L-O-T. Do you know what that is? That is somebody who is so engrossed in what they're doing, they might as well be that thing. So having a father like that drove me to want to know what the truth is about that Bible. You know, and from talking to people, you ever talk to people, find out what they believe? Ask the person next to you what they believe. Ask them about their beliefs. Ask your husband, your wife, your girlfriend. You really don't know a person till you know what they believe. I am almost certain that you gonna hear some crazy shit asking people what they really believe. And a lot of people don't even know what they believe. A lot of people don't even know what to believe. And it's not that hard to see why. It's a lot of confusion. It's a lot of disinformation, misinformation, just flat out error and or lies. And that's another reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's gotten to the point where it's stifling. You know, it's, you know, the lies and misinformation and errors and mistruths, it's to the point where it's so prevalent that I can't even take it no more. You ever been talking to somebody, or not even talking to them, just nearby, and you heard them talking about something, and they was just completely wrong, like every word that came out of their mouth was wrong? Didn't you want to tell them the truth? Didn't you want to help them? Or maybe you just wanted them to go throughout the rest of their life being ignorant as hell. I don't know, I've done that sometimes. I remember recently, just a quick story, I was in the grocery store. This was when COVID-19 first hit, and it hit hard. And I was in the grocery store, I was walking past these two ladies. I had my mask on. These two ladies didn't have no mask on. And so the one lady was telling the other lady, don't worry, I'm stocked up on hydrochloroquine. I was taking it before COVID hit. And so, you know, my system is pretty loaded up with hydrochloroquine, so you don't have to worry. And I said to myself, damn. I said, that lady ignorant as hell. I said, but you know what? It ain't my business. I said, that ain't your business, Troy. I said, she got the right to be ignorant as hell. That's her business. That's not your business. So, and that's how I go through my life. You know, I don't get involved in other people's business. You want to be stupid, you just go do your thing. I don't get paid for educating the public. But it's getting to the point, it's getting so prevalent, there's no escaping it. The ignorance has crept into my family, into people I love, believing wild shit, believing crazy shit. And I'm sorry about cussing. To you ultra-religious folks, I know how y'all feel about that. But sometimes curse words is appropriate. And I'm going to try not to curse during these videos, but sometimes curse, nothing else will do. And furthermore, damn and hell ain't curse words. They in the Bible. Okay? So, I may use those particular words frequently. Okay, so, anyway, moving on. Why am I doing this? Well, I guess that's a multi-part answer. The first of all, I'm doing it because I think I'm right. Of course. I think I'm right. Religion, our religion and our religions are splintered into so many different groups and factions. People don't know what to believe. You know, the truth is so obscure. You know, it's an old saying. It says that the truth is hidden by a bodyguard of lies. And I think that's true. But it's another old saying that says the truth is like a lion. It needs no defense. I think both things are true. So I'm doing this because I feel like I'm right. I feel like I know the truth. And I'm going to tell it. I'm doing this, you know, because years growing up with my father and debating him made me this way. I'm doing this for every single person that I've ever argued with about anything. just to be a brat and prove I'm right. That's what it's about. To be perfectly shallow and honest with you. That's what it's about. That's why I'm doing this. And finally, I'm doing this because I have made some shocking discoveries. Baby, I'm going to blow your socks off. I am going to shock and awe, okay? Shock and awe. And I've made one humongous, gargantuan discovery among all the great discoveries I've made. Out of all the great discoveries I've made, there is one humongo, gargantuan, muy grande discovery that I have made. And it is like the highlight of my life. It's the greatest discovery I've ever made. And I know it. Don't nobody know it but me, as far as I know. Not a person on earth knows this secret except me. And I'm going to reveal it in about 8 more videos when we get to that part in the Bible. Okay? That's the promise I make to you. Okay. So, just a couple final notes and announcements before, we put this to rest and get started with the real McCoy, all right? So, we're going to be talking about the Bible, and I'm going to be reading the Bible. I'm going to be reading out the Bible because, once again, there are super ultra religious people that's probably watching this, and best believe, baby, they is hanging on every word. They is scrutinizing every word. Every single word of the Bible is debatable. And they are going to be scrutinizing every word. You better believe that. So, before we even get started looking at the Bible, referencing the Bible, or quoting scriptures out the Bible, it's important to understand a couple things. The Bible is a very complicated book. I've emphasized enough times already how controversial it is. But it's also a very complicated book to read. It's complicated to read and it's complicated to understand. The proof is all the different faiths and belief systems that you have now. You look at the Christian faith. You have Catholicism. You have Lutheran, Methodist, Pentecostal, Baptist. You have all these different faiths. You have the Jehovah's Witnesses, Seventh-day Evangelists. And then you have all these different faiths outside the Christian faith. And the reason for this is because this is a complicated book. That's the proof that this is a very controversial and complicated book. You cannot get around that. And I can't either. So one of the ways to uncomplicate it is to look at it through a certain lens. Now, the first thing you have to do is you have to understand that this book was written, well, first of all, it's not one complete continuous book. It's a compilation of books written by a compilation of authors, and we not even concrete certain that the authors who we think wrote certain books actually wrote those books. So already off the top, before you even crack the book open, it's already under a shroud of mystery. It's already under this questionable veil. Already. Then when you open the book and you actually read it, keep in mind that you probably reading the translation of a copy. If you read the King James Version, the Bible was not written in English. Most of you know that. Some of you may not. The Bible was originally written in Hebrew, and Moses did write the Bible. I think that's one of the controversial subjects about the Bible, and we'll talk about that later. Moses did write the Bible. So it was translated from Hebrew into Greek. And so you have the Greek Septuagint. It was 70 I'm not sure how many Jewish authors. I may be wrong. I think it was around like mid-70s, like maybe 76, something like that. Jewish authors that were living in Greece, I believe, at the time. It may have been Egypt. I'm not sure, okay? I'm a biblical scholar. But anyway, these 7 Jewish priests, they translated the Bible into Greek. And so you have the Greek Septuagint. And some of the modern copies of the Bible come from the Greek Septuagint. Also, back in, like, I don't know, 600, 6 BC or something like that. Maybe it was like 10 BC. A sect in Israel called the Maccabees, they translated a version, which is also used in modern times. And lastly, you have the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were recently discovered in the last, like, I don't know, what, 20 years or something, 20, 30 years, I don't know. And so you have these 3 sources of the Bible. And, you know, for the most part, they agree with each other, but there are some parts where it's changed. They don't agree with each other. They say something different. Not very big parts, but people make a big deal out of it. So that's another reason why the Bible is so complicated and controversial. Another reason is because the Bible is full of codes and hidden messages. The way the Hebrew language is set up, and we'll talk about this also later, the way the Hebrew language is set up, each letter in the Hebrew language means something. It has an image to go with that letter. It has a numerical value, and it has, like, each letter. It's also a symbol. It's also a numerical value, and it also, like, means something. I'll give you an example. You take the letter A, it makes the sound ah, and the image associated with it is a bull. The number associated with it is 1. I think I'm right on all this. And what it means is, it can mean, depending on how you use it, it can mean the first, the head. It can mean bull. It can mean, which was, you know, a chief source of their food back then. It can mean God, because they worshiped the bull as a god back then. And so, you know, each letter can have a different meaning depending on how you use it. And so when you string those letters together, these letters with multiple meanings and images and numbers behind each of them, that makes for a giant code book. The Bible is a straight up codex. It's messages hidden within messages. It's codes hidden within codes. And to pull the truth, the absolute truth out of all that is extremely difficult. To understand the Bible, you basically have to be either a genius, or it has to be explained to you. That information, it has to just be given to you. So another thing about the Bible is it will seem to contradict itself. The Bible makes absolutely extraordinary claims, unbelievable claims. I do not blame atheist people for not buying it. I do not blame you for not believing these extraordinary, unbelievable claims that the Bible makes. I just think it was never explained to you correctly. But good for you that somebody tried to shove a pill down your throat and you wasn't having it. I do not blame you at all. On the other hand, to not accept a fact that's sitting right in front of your face is the definition of being delusional. If you can't accept the truth that's sitting right in front of your face, then you have a problem. And there are people that are like that. that no matter how much you explain the truth to them, no matter how much you try to prove it, no matter how much evidence you provide, they are not having it. They will not believe it. And that's fine. It's going to be some people like that. I suspect it'll be some people like that with these videos that I'm making. Okay, so I think I've pretty much covered everything I want to cover in this video. I want to leave you with this one last thought. Seeing that we are going to be talking about the Bible, I want to leave you with a question. And that question is, what is God? Or who is God? Meaning, what is God to you? Or who is God to you? I found that when I ask people this question, even ultra-religious people, they really can't give me a straight answer. This is some of the answers I get. Well, who is God? Well, what does that mean? Because, you know, people say all the time, you know, God this, God that. You know, even atheist people who don't believe in God, when they get shocked, they say, oh my God. You know what I mean? I'm like, why are you saying that? You don't even believe, you know, whatever. Or they say, holy shit. Or they say, Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why are you saying that? You don't even believe that. Why don't you say Alibaba or something? You know what I mean? Or I don't know. You know, say somebody, Benjamin Franklin, holy Benjamin Franklin, somebody you believe in, you know. Even atheist people, they still say, oh my God. When I read the Bible and it talks about God, I follow the rules that these, you know, these are people 6,000 years ago that are trying to explain something to me. You know, things that happened 6,000 years ago, they not like how they are now. You can't think that you're reading a book that was written 6,000 years ago and even the words mean the same thing. Like, for instance, I once read in the Bible, and listen carefully to what I'm saying. It says, it will be harder for a rich man. No, I'm sorry. It will be easier for a rich man. That's what it says. It will be easier for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle than to get into heaven. Now, let me repeat that. The Bible says it will be easier for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle. It'll be easier for him to go through the eye of a needle than it will be for him to get into heaven. Now, just listening to that on the surface, you would say to yourself, well, it's impossible to get into heaven if you're rich. You can't be a rich man and get into heaven because it's clearly impossible for any kind of man to go through the eye of a needle. Well, come to find out, they weren't talking about a needle and thread, because a needle and thread probably didn't exist 6,000 years ago. So that's why it's important you have to put yourself back in them times. The eye of the needle was a place. It wasn't talking about like a needle and thread like you sewing something. It was talking about a place it was a trading hub. And it was very difficult to manage your way through this place. And so it's not impossible for a rich man to get into heaven. But the Bible can be very misleading in that way. That's why the Bible is such a controversial book. It's a dangerous book. It can be, because it can mislead you into believing something that's not true, that's not accurate. It can have you spending your entire life believing something that's not true and not accurate. So it can be very dangerous in some ways. It's a very powerful and potent book. This book has changed people's lives all over the planet. I don't know of any one thing that has had a greater influence on this earth than the Bible has. And that's just being honest. You know, that's just, you know, my humble opinion. So even when you talk about God, when I read the Bible, I try to put myself back in them times. What were they trying to say? Not what do I think, but what was it that they were trying to say? So I'm asking you, what is God to you? Is he a genie in a lamp? You know, you rub the lamp and poof, he pops out and grants you 3 wishes? No, that's not what God, well, is he a guy? You know, is he an invisible guy? Is he a ghostly guy? Is he the standard halo over the head, wings sprouting out the back, draped in, you know, the white robes or whatever, you know? Is that what you're saying? It's just an honest question. You probably, you know, there's probably some people mad at me. You know, they say, you know, well, he's a spirit. Well, what is that? Are you saying he's a ghost? Saying he's an invisible man walking through walls like Casper? It's a legitimate question if you ask me. Who is God? Who is God to you? So many people invoke his name, but they really can't tell you who he is, what he looks like. They just give really vague answers like, oh, well, God is God. Or, you know, he's just God. You know, some people are honestly like, I don't know, you know. But I want you to chew on that for a second. I know who he is to me. And, you know, ask around, see what other people think. You may shock yourself, you may surprise yourself. But we will be discussing it. So that's all I have for you. Man, if you stuck around, I really appreciate you doing that. And I'm not going to waste any more of your time. We're going to get right to business with this next video. So, once again, I want to thank you. Thank you.